or I taught, or...
Okay, so I wanted to ask you to introduce yourself a little, and then if you could just tell me a story, the story that you were telling me the other day, yesterday, about when you were a teacher, and you were, and you had your kids come into class. It was elementary school, and
No,
Columbine, middle school,
Middle school.
and Columbine had just happened.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the bell rang, the kids had been seated, I came in, and they were so quiet. They were unusually quiet, and middle schoolers are never this quiet. So I had a feeling that something was not right. So I said, hey, well, what's going on? Why is everybody so quiet? And several of the students said, we're scared. And I thought, well, what is it? And they said, oh, that shooting in Columbine, all those kids being killed, that could happen here. I said, well, I tell you what, I'm scared too. But so we decided to plan an escape route in case anything like that ever happened, that somebody would shut the door and we would run to the windows and who would go first and how we would really just get out of the building. So we did that. And then I thought, okay, let's open our literature books, and they still weren't quite settled inside themselves. So I said, well, what do you want to do? And they said, well, let's do something else instead. Let's begin to talk about some things that are bothering us. I said, okay. And I said, well, let's just list some things, like kind of brainstorm kind of thing. And, and I was up there, okay, welfare, eviction, teen pregnancy, sexual abuse. And they were going on and on and on. And we got a good list together. And I thought, well, how do you go from here? And they said, well, let us write about our experiences. I said, well, that's a great idea. I let them go. They started writing. They started really opening up in a way that I had never seen before, and not just with me, but with their peers. And they were stories that were really personal and really meant something to them. And soon they were writing, and they said, hey, can the other classes do this? Because this was 8th grade. I said, well, sure. So they started leaving notes on the board. We need such and such. And what it developed into was we were kind of in pods. So, 8A was in pod B, 7A was in pod C or something like that. And so we're in our pod, and they started to want to hang their, writings up or their personal stories. And eventually they started really taking the lead. And I knew just intuitively that I should get out of the way, that I had to get out of the way, otherwise it was not going to be successful for them, and they wouldn't feel like they had really accomplished something for themselves. So they started this whole role of learning that was there. It was theirs. They could claim it. And one particular little guy, Roger, he was a little shorter, a little just not as developed as the rest of the kids. And he was always quiet, but he's a real smart kid. But he said very, very little, and he was kind of shy. And he was just his writing was really superb. And so when the kids started grouping themselves, and it was just like an automatic flow. Their own energies kind of combined them in little groups. And somehow his energy ended up in one of those groups. And he started to really take off. And the other kids started to praise him, which he had never gotten before. Here now he's being praised for what he can offer to the group, what none of the other ones really had, but now they could see that he had something. And it was so exciting. It was so exciting. So they grouped themselves. They started working. They started leaving messages on the board for the next class. We need you to do such and such and this and that. Then in the art class, they just at that time, they were making origami roses and flowers and things. So they said, well, let's put some flowers up in the hallway, and we can have a garden, and we can have our stories up. And these kids got so involved because they wanted to bring forth, the things that they were hiding, that they didn't want anybody to know about. But somehow, this was now a safe place, and they had created it themselves. I hadn't, the best I could do was get out of the way. And I was so encouraged by their efforts, their, just their ability to open up and really express, their hurts, their successes. They were really talking deeply. And then shortly, they were bringing in like programs from funerals that many of the young kids who had been murdered, their friends, they were bringing these in and, you know, posting them on the in the human garden and writing poems and writing letters. And it was like incredible of how they had missed, like one girl's mother, she had even passed away from like some disease. But and it wasn't like violence, but she brought that in, and she just wrote such a heartfelt letter to her mom.
That's incredible.
Yeah, how
that
she had missed
it
her.
all went into the human garden
The
that
human
they made
garden.
with the
And
art and the
right,
stories.
and they made it all.
That's
And,
amazing.
then as teachers came through,
Yeah.
teachers, but from one, like it curved around, from one door, by the time they got to the other door, they were in tears. They never knew that these kids had such
From
things
looking
to
at what
offer.
they
That's
put
right.
up in the
That's
garden.
right. That's right.
I want to thank you for sharing this really wonderful story.
You're welcome.
And
You're
your name
welcome.
is Sheila
Carter Jones.
Carter Jones, and we're in Pittsburgh.
Yes, we are.
And it's, what is it?
September 30th,
Yeah, 30th,
Friday.
2011. All
Yes.
right. Thanks a lot, Sheila.
Thank you.